Mendix Solution Architektjével folytatjuk. Oriana Nerberka, az ő előadása, annak a címe Low Code High Impact. Here you are.
Great. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Oriana Nerberka. I'm a pre-sales solution architect at Mendix, and today I'll be talking about how low code can have high impact, and specifically how we're using AI in our platform to make smarter and faster innovation. So we've only got 15 minutes here today, just before the lunch break. So what I'll be talking about is who we are, so you can understand the perspective we're coming from. Then I'll be talking about the ways that we're implementing AI in our platform. I'll talk a little bit about some of our customers who are using AI in real use cases. And for the Q&A, you can find us just outside with the Art of Info booth. So if you do have any questions, we won't have time for them in this session, but we'll be there obviously throughout the day today and also tomorrow. First of all, what is Mendix? Mendix is a low-code platform. We use drag-and-drop elements in a visual model that allows you to build your own custom software. We do use AI, and the reason for that is that we really want to empower developers to create that custom software faster. Typically, our customers will see that they can build their bespoke software up to 10 times faster with 70% fewer resources. And that's what our mission is to mobilize organizations like yours to make better software faster. And it sounds really simple, but there's a challenge. And the challenge is that the business cannot keep up with IT supply. So IT supply cannot build software fast enough for the business. And Gartner agrees with this. For us, we fill that IT gap. Yeah, so Mendix fills this IT gap. So for a lot of our customers, they spend maybe 80 or 90% of their budget in IT on keeping the lights on, so on maintenance activities. And by using Mendix, they are able to free up that budget for innovation and to create software that's really giving them competitive edge rather than just day-to-day business as usual. And it's not just us who are low-code enthusiasts. So Gartner predict that by next year, 70% of at least internal applications will be built using some kind of low-code platform. And speaking of what you can build, Mendix can be used for all sorts of different use cases, but typically we see that they fall into these three categories. So if I start at the bottom, we have the ability to modernize core systems, and the way that we do that is because we're really strong at integrations. So whether you want to integrate with something like Microsoft, SAP, Salesforce, you can do that using Mendix and keep all of your changes in the Mendix software that's more maintainable and keep the core clean. Then, automating business processes. So the ability to orchestrate workflows, approval processes across multiple different systems so you reduce silos and really generate business value. And of course, software is fantastic, but it always needs to have a great user experience. So that's the top category where we can create really rich, enterprise-grade digital customer experiences, whether that's just a fantastic internal portal or whether it's a B2C mobile native application. Some of our use cases target up to 5 million users. So it's absolutely relevant and able to be used for those strategic enterprise-grade use cases. Now, because of time, I won't be able to delve into all of our customers, but behind me on the slide, you'll see just some of the logos that we work with. And as I said, the use cases are really broad. So whether you're in manufacturing, it could be in defense, financial services, regulated industries, public sector. We've probably worked in that industry with one of your competitors already. So that's who Mendix are. And the topic of the conversation today was really also talking about AI and where that's going. And I think this slide sums it up pretty well, that Gen AI and AI in general can feel really overwhelming because every day there's a new business that has AI in their tagline that they're ready to change your life with AI. I was at the AWS Summit last week, and it was amazing. There were 400 talks in London alone. They ran this globally in Berlin and Singapore and other places. But I had a couple of key takeaways. The first key takeaway is the landscape is changing faster than ever. And every talk that I went to, they said, okay, what we talked about last year, we thought maybe that would be possible in years from now, and we can already do that today. And that rate of change is only increasing. The other topic was that those three use cases I highlighted earlier are really what AI is trying to target as well. So they're still relevant. And lastly, the other takeaway was that the big hyperscalers like AWS are also focusing on risk, because that is one of the main blockers for organizations to actually adopt AI, is the risk of hallucinations, the risk of just uncertainty. Especially in regulated industries, that's not something that you want to take on. And so we often get asked, well, what's the benefit then of using low code and AI? Can't I just generate all the code that I want in high code using AI? And yes, you can, but it's risky. And the reason we say that it's risky is because you can have what they call hallucinations, right? That's when generative AI makes a little mistake. It's not always something obvious. It can be something as small as just a typo in one line of code. And if you're generating thousands and thousands of lines of code across multiple applications, well, you can just imagine what that does for your risk. So the benefit of low code and AI is that we use AI to generate these draggable building blocks. And the benefit of that is that the building blocks are already security tested. So you know that they're safe to use. And because it's a visual model, you're not looking for individual typos. You're able to really easily read and understand what has been generated. And so again, because now you're reducing the risk, now it's something that you can leverage. And by the way, we of course work with all of the hyperscalers, so whether it's AWS or whether it's OpenAI, or even if you wanted to use something like DeepSeek, we support them all because we're all about helping you to use the right tool for the right job. Specifically, the way that we're implementing AI in our platform is through Maya. It's called the Mendix AI Assistant. And in terms of AI, I think it kind of comes into two categories, right? So on the left-hand side, we talk about AI-assisted development. That's how we're using AI to empower developers to actually build faster. That's, of course, got a lot of good business value because you can reduce your time to market. But where there's also a lot of great value is on what we call AI-augmented applications. So those are applications that are using some sort of AI service to actually create business outcomes, business values. So if I start on the left-hand side, the ways that we're empowering developers is in three ways. First of all, through guidance. So within our platform, developers are able just to use natural language and ask questions about documentation, about the model, anything that they might want to ask, kind of like having a senior developer right behind you. The next way is through assistance, and this is where we use machine learning models to actually predict the next logical step within the context of that piece of logic, what a developer might do. And last of all, of course, generation. So this is where we're creating those building blocks, whether it's in pages, whether it's in logic, or even your data structure, where developers are able to generate this, again, with those guardrails of being low-code building blocks. And we're not just doing it for developers either. We're doing it for the whole platform, which means that if you're a product owner, maybe you want to generate user stories. If you're a tester, maybe you want to generate some test criteria. But it's integrated throughout the whole platform in a natural way that you can use whether it's at the very start of a project or whether you're already months into a project as well. So that's a little bit about the AI-assisted development. But of course, it's really important as well to talk about AI-augmented applications because that's really going to drive the business value. So Gartner have a prediction for this as well. So they think by next year, not only will most organizations be building software using low-code, they'll also be building generative AI-enabled applications as well. And if you just look at those numbers, that's a huge seismic shift back in 2023, where only 5% of organizations have done that. Now, the reasons for these drivers, there's probably a few. I'm sure ChatGPT did a fair amount, but it's also about customer expectations. The need to create really rich, amazing use cases for customers, whether it's internal stakeholders or external, has never been bigger. And so this is where I have a couple of different use cases to talk about. Today I'll be talking about two. And I said at the beginning, it's all about risk, and it's all about de-risking the ability for you to use AI in your software. So if I start on the left-hand side, one customer I think that's really relevant to talk about is ABN AMRO, and they are a Dutch bank. They've actually been a Mendix customer for 7 years. Now, they've built all sorts of different software on the Mendix platform, from simple internal use cases to also external use cases, and it's a strategic choice for them. So they're actually Mendix first in their software, bespoke software journey. Now, as a Dutch bank, of course, they're regulated. They have a lot of compliance that they want to to be able to conform with. So in terms of what they're able to do, they've changed Mendix, so not only is it a strategic tool for them to build those really critical use cases, they're also now able to use it as a tool for innovation. So they recently started a pilot where for one of their processes for compliance, they need to do the Know Your Customer process, so KYC process. And this was previously a really lengthy process where individuals have to go through huge amounts of documentation to collate them all together and really try and build out that customer profile. So the pilot, it only recently just finished, and what they've done is they've used generative AI to summarize that customer information and attach it to that workflow process that was already in place. So now an individual only has to verify that profile instead of coming up with all of that information themselves. So that's a very targeted use case, but it's a great way to show that you can use AI and Mendix together for very specific targeted use cases, as well as things that are more broad. Now then, if I go on the right-hand side, so a customer who's totally revolutionized their whole end-to-end process is actually a customer called Vivix. They're a Brazilian glass manufacturer. They are actually one of the largest glass manufacturers in Brazil. And they wanted to do a total digital transformation. So it wasn't just about using generative AI. They had some real impetus to increase their productivity, reduce costs, because they realized that in order to stay at the cutting edge in Brazil, they needed to make some changes. So actually, Mendix was bought by Siemens Industry Software back in 2018. And I mentioned before that we're totally agnostic, so we can integrate with pretty much anything. If it's open to be integrated with, we'll be able to integrate with it. And so what we worked with here is we worked with Siemens to do the shop floor digital factory, digital thread standardization, and then Mendix came in as a tool to extend that software and to add that competitive edge. So what Vivix did was they worked on, as part of that process to manufacture glass, they implemented what they call a virtual engineer. So that means that anyone, whether they're on the shop floor, so looking at work instructions, resolving issues, all the way through to customer service, had access to this virtual engineer, and they trained it on their entire data knowledge base. And so what they did was the virtual engineer is now available, and they took their customer complaints process down from 5 days as a total end-to-end resolution to now less than 8 hours. So that's huge in terms of business value. And Vivix are continuing to innovate and leverage generative AI in other parts of their business. So that is really all we have time for today, unfortunately. And thank you very much for your time. My name is Oriana Nerberka. My details are here on screen. And as I said, if you do have any questions, then feel free to visit us at the Art of Info booth just outside. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.